All right, I've got a surprise for you guys. No more hair, new beginnings, fresh start. So today I'm going to talk about why did I cut my hair? What was living inside of 12 years of hair on top of my head? And what is the reason I decided to do this now for myself? So first thing that I'll say is I have had long hair, that hair that was growing on my head, the same hair you guys have seen in all of my videos since I was 22 years old. That was the last time that I had a cut like this. And in that time, since I was 22, so much has changed in my life. And I come from the belief that there's a lot of energy and memory stored in our hair. There's the indigenous and traditional way of looking at this, where our hair is the source of our power. It's the source of our connection to spirit. It allows us a greater connection on the physical and on the spiritual realms. And I subscribe to the belief that my hair grows from my head. My head is where my thoughts, my beliefs occur. So the hair to me is like record keepers. It's like old notebooks that I've scratched beliefs and ideas and events and memories into and then pushed them through my scalp. And now they're living on my body. And over the years, I created a huge identity that was connected to my hair, that was connected to the way I expressed myself through the hair that was on my head. And recently I realized that so much of that memory and record keeping was hanging on the top of my head, and in some ways, literally and energetically weighing me down and holding me back. And so everything that I've been through this year, you guys who listen to the podcast, you've heard me talk about this a lot, has forced me to face off with all of my uncomfortable edges, my edges around my own personal finances, my work, my career, my vision, my personal, intimate, and social relationships, my relationship with the world, with the planet, and my relationship, most importantly, with myself. Every level of my life has been confronted this year. And emerging from it in these past 2 months has felt like a rite of passage. I feel like I've closed out a chapter in my life and really begun a new one. And so I recognized that the last thing to go was my hair, the record keeper, all of these notebooks that I've been storing in my hair on the top of my head. And I could feel how that old way of being was following me around. There was very clear examples of how my old thoughts, my old ways of being in my relationship with my parents, in my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my money and my finances, although my operating beliefs had changed, my embodied practices and way of being around it hadn't changed. And so I had the insight that it's got to be connected to some embodied action, some physical action I can take to represent a clearing and cutting off of things to start anew. Therein lies the decision to chop off all of my hair. Now, I didn't post about it on social media at this point. I didn't put a bunch of stuff out there about what I was doing. If you guys follow my wife, Carrie Azuma, on Instagram, she posted about it. But I did it in a very intentional way, because as I've grown and matured in my life as an adult and as a man, I realized that there's an opportunity to bring more intention to the things that I do. It could be just as simple as pulling out the clippers and buzzing my head. But I had an opportunity where there were so many people in my community, so many loved ones around me, supporting me, that I could involve in this process and really make a ceremony out of it. When I say ceremony, it's a very intentional event where I bring intention, purpose, meaning behind it, and also reverence. And so in this ceremony, I spoke about the things I wanted to let go of. I spoke about what I wanted to release, what that hair had seen in those 12 years from when I was 22 years old, back when I was a pot smoking, Burning Man going, renegade nomad hippie, to who I am now. And all of those things that I wanted to release, all those patterns, all those beliefs, and also all of the things that I wanted to call in by releasing that hair. And so one by one, I had members of my community come up and say a prayer, say a blessing and an intention for me as they cut off one of my dreads. And then we collected all of them and brought them outside and had a fire where I offered my hair to the fire with some sacred herbs and cedars and sages and copal to really memorialize and commemorate that moment. And I got to say, it was a really powerful opportunity for me to reflect and to make a decisive action that signified moving from one chapter of my life to the next. And I wanted to share it here on the podcast because, number one, it's an insight more into who I am as an individual and the things I'm going through as a man. I think sometimes out there, because I'm in front of a camera or behind a microphone and I've recorded a bunch of podcast episodes, It may be so hard for some of you guys to relate to me as a human, but the reality is that I've gone through a ton of shit this year, and it's all led me to greater stages and opportunities for growth. And this was a really intimate insight into how I've operated in my life and how I confront these opportunities to intentionalize the things that I do with my life. And also wanted to initiate this dialogue around the hair and the parts of our body, bringing more attention and intention to how we treat our bodies with respect and with reverence. To me, the way I treat my hair is just a microcosm of the way I treat all of my relationships with everything that's other than myself. My relationships with the people I love, my relationship with my work, my relationship with the earth and the animals and all the beings on this planet, the places and ways in which we bring more intention and more deliberation into the way that we are, the better the relationships are. And so I just wanted to share this story about an opportunity to release from my hair, to separate it, and also to give it back to the fire in a really sacred and beautiful way for me. I can't tell you, it's actually felt very different. I feel very different. Aside from just the sensation of the breeze blowing on my head and the hot water from the shower spigot hitting my hair in the morning, it's been overall just a different embodied experience. I can literally feel the weight on my shoulders and on my head being lighter, and my thoughts and my creativity have been different in just the past few days since I've done this. So yeah, I just wanted to share this as an insight into my life, and hope that it generates some thoughts and some reflections for you. What is the weight that you're carrying in your life? Maybe it's not living in the hair on your head, but maybe it's living energetically in your shoulders and in your spine. There's a lot of literature and research out there about the traumas, the beliefs, the patterns we have living in our somatic body. If you guys want to look into somatics and energetics a little bit more, there's plenty of stuff out there right now on this. But if you don't have a relationship with that, then I invite you to consider it. What is your relationship with the things that have happened in your past, and where might they be living and existing in your body? For me, my hair was a representation that literally the hair that I was carrying around on my head had witnessed who I was as a 22-year-old man. Really, as a boy learning how to become a man. And as a 23-year-old, 24-year-old, that hair was on my head when I got married. That hair was on my head when we had our first and second children. That hair was on my head when I went through some of the hardest moments in my life. And now it's gone, and I've offered it to the fire. So it's a really beautiful way to create an entirely new perspective, an entirely new outlook and possibility on life and what lies ahead. So thank you for hearing this story. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope it inspires you to think differently about your relationship with your hair, with your body, with your past, and to consider how you might have a more intentional relationship with that moving forward. Tune in next week for the next episode of the Monday Morning Meditations, and many blessings to each and every one of you.